Most people think multifamily development is super risky, but is that actually true? Those people are probably not doing the things I'm going to explain in this video. While every development deal carries risk, there are many ways to actually de-risk these projects to protect you and your investors. Most developers aren't willing to share this. So today, I want to walk through the exact 3 things I do on each project to de-risk the construction phase. I'm Justin Goodin, founder of Goodin Development, and on this channel, I document what it actually looks like to develop Class A multifamily communities from the ground up. That includes the underwriting, the financing, the construction, and everything in between. So I want to start with a little context because I think it's important to understand where I'm coming from on this. Before I started developing, I spent years working as a multifamily underwriter for a local bank here in Indiana. I was able to analyze hundreds of deals, everything from value add to huge ground up development deals. I saw projects that went really well and some that didn't do so great. They were essentially betting that everything would go according to plan. And here's the thing about ground up development. Nothing ever goes exactly according to plan. There are always surprises. Some surprises are minor and some are substantial. So when I started developing my own projects, I made a decision early on that I was going to obsess over how I can de-risk my projects during the construction phase, which is where the biggest portion of the risk really lies. So let's get into it. Let me walk you through the exact 3 things I do on every project to make it a safer investment. The third one might surprise you. Okay, so the first one is using a GMP contract with my general contractor. GMP stands for Guaranteed Maximum Price. And if you're not familiar with how this works, here's a simple version. Before construction starts, you and your general contractor agree on a maximum price for that project. If costs come in under that number, great. But if costs come in over that number, the contractor is paying the overage and not the developer. Construction cost overruns are one of the primary ways development deals can fall apart. You underwrite a project at a certain cost, your investors' returns are based on that project cost, and then halfway through construction, your GC comes back and says, we need another $2 million. That's a nightmare scenario that would derail the entire project. So take, for example, the Elwood, which is our 114 unit community in Kokomo, Indiana. Before construction started, we signed a GMP contract with the construction company that we're using. What that meant for us as a developer was that when we went to our investors, when we went to our lender, we could point to a contracted maximum price and say, this is the ceiling on our construction costs. That's a real, tangible risk mitigation tool. A GMP is not a guarantee that nothing will go wrong, but it is a guarantee that cost overruns above that number are not coming out of our pockets or our investors' pockets. But here's something I want to be very clear about. A GMP only covers the agreed upon scope. So if something is missed or changed in your development plans, the GMP will not cover that. For example, a change order comes in while you're framing the building and it was discovered that the original plans didn't include enough structural support in certain areas to meet code. The civil engineer would then update the design to add additional bracing and hardware. But since this work wasn't part of the original project scope, the contractor would issue a change order to the developer to pay an additional $130,000 to fix the issue. This is why having an experienced team around you is critical, which brings me to my very next point. The second way I mitigate risk is I try to use the same team on every project I do. So same general contractor, same architect, same civil engineer. I know this might sound simple, but the compounding effect of working with the same people over and over again is massive. And here's what I mean by that. The first time you work with a company, there's usually a learning curve. They're figuring out how you operate and what your standards are, and vice versa. Sometimes there can be friction early on in that relationship, and that goes for both sides of the partnership. By the second or third project, that friction is usually gone, and you are just trying to do things better and better on each project. Your architect already knows how you think about unit layouts and project amenities. Your civil engineer already understands the type of sites you like to build on, and your GC already knows your expectations around quality and the types of projects you build. The whole process runs faster and smoother because everyone has done this before together. On the Elwood project, we used the same architect, the same GC, civil engineer, and even the same bank that we did on our previous project, District South. And that familiarity meant a lot because we weren't starting from scratch on every conversation. And team members I'm using for my projects are extremely good at what they do, so I don't have a lot of motivation to change what's already working. Now, this doesn't mean you never evaluate your team or push for competitive pricing. You should absolutely do both, but there's a real cost and risk to constantly switching out between different partners. Okay, so now let's move on to my third reason, and this one might surprise you. To de-risk my construction, I generally try to build a similar style project each time. This one might sound counterintuitive, You might think, why wouldn't you try different things or experiment or change things up once in a while? And we definitely do, to a certain extent. If you look at my past projects, each one is very unique in its own way, but we usually have the same architectural standards, amenities, and floor plans on every project, just to name a few. Not because we aren't open to trying new things, but because we have found what works, so we are taking that proven model and using it over and over again. From a risk management standpoint, building a similar project over and over again is one of the most underrated advantages in development. Here's the real reason this matters. When you build the same type of project repeatedly, your cost becomes more predictable. Your architect isn't redesigning the wheel every time. Your GC has already built similar projects in the past, so their pricing is accurate, and execution is a lot more reliable. And you know what the market likes because you've already leased up a comparable asset. The more variables you can eliminate in a project, the better. So let me bring this all together. The real takeaway from everything I've shared is that de-risking a development deal is not just one single thing. It's a system. The GMP controls your construction cost exposure, the experienced team controls your execution risk, building a repeatable product eliminates unknown variables. None of this eliminates risk entirely. Development will always have things come up. But when you use each of these strategies, you are dramatically reducing the number of ways the deal can go sideways. If you have any questions about these topics, drop them down in the comments below. I'm curious if you agree or disagree with my approach. And if you found this video helpful, hit the like and subscribe button. I put out content every week about what it looks like to develop real multifamily projects. I'll see you in the next one.